Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, County Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present a little update from our Treasurer's Office on operating indicators, some good news that we have had this year in our office, and then also our critical need for 2024. So first, see if I can remember how to operate. There we go. All right. It's been a year since I've had to come up here, so thank you. First thing is annual tax statements. Last year, we sent out 270,000 tax statements to citizens, property owners. This year, we have seen an increase of about 13,000. That's because, as you are well aware, sitting on the planning boards and improving plats, we continue to grow as a community, and we continue to see the dividing of parcels and the erection of homes and apartments and stuff like that. So we anticipate that will continue to grow in the years to come. We also send delinquent tax notices. So most of our citizens pay on time, but some do not and require a little bit of prodding and reminder from our office. So we send out reminders to folks to remember to make those tax payments because that does fund other governmental entities in addition to the county. We usually see a little bit of a dip in odd years, and that's what we've seen here. Last year, we had 13,195. We saw a little over 1,000 fewer this year, and that's because the assessor's office sends out their notice of valuation, and that's usually a reminder to folks. They usually call our office wanting to know what their taxes will be because they'll see a statement and they get a little nervous and a little antsy, and they'll call our office and ask about what their taxes will be the next year. And that's usually a good opportunity to remind people, hey, you're not up to date on your tax payments currently for this year. So we tend to see fewer notices that we have to send out in odd number of years because of the notice evaluation that the assessor's office sends. Property tax payments processed, we saw an increase. Not quite aware of why we're seeing that increase. It could be as people pay off their homes and they're no longer using their mortgage company to pay that escrow amount that they have coming out of each month's payment, or if people are being a little more budget conscious about how they make those payments. You can make one payment and pay the whole tax amount due once, or you can spread it out over a period of months, but we are seeing more people utilize that first and second payment to pay their taxes. Non-property tax revenues transactions, we see, hold it, let me drop back. Tax roll changes. We saw less this year because of our integration both in the assessor's office with RealWare and in the treasurer's office with CollectWare. So we put some of those activities on hold while we did the data conversion. So we expect to see those bump up next year. Non-property tax revenue transactions, those are assessments we do for various community, stormwater collection, the assessor's office filings and stuff like that. That's what's comprised in that number. Tax liens sold. Next month, we will be doing our mobile home tax lien sale. We expect that to be about typical of what we normally see. Tax liens sold for real estate, and I have good news on that, and I'll say that in the next slide. But we saw a little bit more than we saw in previous years. We expect annually to run around 2,000 or so of tax liens for people who don't make their payments. That property tax goes to sale, and then investors buy those at a very good interest rate of 15% right now. So it's a good investment vehicle. So we collect that, and that allows taxing districts to be whole. So your fire district, your school districts and stuff can receive the revenue they're supposed to. And then that count generates interest so that when the property owner finally pays that property tax, they'll pay that interest rate to the investor for that property. Tax deeds issued, about the same as last year, but there was a recent Supreme Court decision, Tyler versus Hennepin County, that has put the issuing of tax deeds. So after someone buys liens on properties for 3 years, they can begin the process to acquire that property through a treasurer's deed. And due to that recent Supreme Court decision earlier this year about potentially illegal takings, that has put the transmittal of tax lien certificates and treasurer's deeds on hold for the time being. Myself and other treasurers from around the state are working to draft a bill that we hope to remedy that so that we can go forward into the future. Certificate of taxes due reports. So when a homeowner makes an offer on a home, they have to make sure at closing that all the taxes are paid beforehand. So that's a generation of those. We're seeing a little bit of a decrease because of the slowing market due to rising interest rates. And then we are the county's banker, so we issue checks or warrants on their behalf. And that 5,715 number, while lower than last year, it's a year-to-date number, and that will grow as business is conducted for the county. Next slide, good news. So our treasurer's office successfully implemented a new tax collection system, Harris Govern's Collectware, and we worked in partnership with the assessor's office in that. They went to RealWare, which is also a product of Harris Govern. So we both began that migration here earlier this year and completed that with our go live in the middle of August. That was the best time for both entities, the assessor's office and our office, to do that migration. We still have some things that we have to work through for end of year work, business process and beginning year, but we've done our user acceptance testing, so we feel very confident of that. I just want to thank Head of County IT, Jeff Eckert, and his leadership, County IT project managers that help keep us on task. The assessor's office did a lot of work to help us through this process, and then our vendor, Harris Govern. It takes many hands to make a successful project, and I wish to thank each and every one of those for that. And then finally, the good news I told you about our tax lien sale. So in the past, we always had old-fashioned auctions where we had an auctioneer selling, and it was usually a very grueling 3 days of auctioning and the like. And I made the decision to go ahead and do that online. And what that does is that extends that universe across the nation for people to invest in those tax liens. And what that resulted in is a couple of things. We have sold every lien, so there's no county lien held. So that means there's nothing that the county holds, there's nothing that various entities is not receiving tax receipts for. So that's good for our community, good for other geopolitical districts. And then it was so popular that we had overbidding to the tune of $170,000. So that will go into our general fund for disposition based on your budget decisions. So good news with our online tax lien sale.
Question.
And then
Commissioner Vanderwerf has a question.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I recall we've had several conversations with regard to the replacement of the VAX system. I don't recall off the top of my head it was called Harris Govern, but that's okay. That was the tool that was obviously chosen. But could you give us just a couple of points of the advantage? Now, new versus old is a general statement. Being more efficient at doing the operations, I'm sure it does. But you might be able to provide a concrete, specific one or two items so that we can get that on the record for one of the reasons for converting.
So some of the reasons may just be very practical. When you have a 35-year-old system, any computer system, the ability to support that system falls away over time. You no longer have software engineers who can continue to update that product and safeguard it from risks and hacking risk and such. So this product, the VAX, was developed in-house 35 years by software developers, and many have gone and retired from the county, went on to other things. So the ability to support that. Also, the hardware used to be the county had VAX hardware here, and getting parts for that just is next to impossible to find anymore. So County IT found a way to make a server that would emulate that software program. So what we're seeing is a number of things that we couldn't do before that allows us the flexibility to do going forward. So when it came to reports and data that we needed to provide to other people, other entities, other taxing districts, reporters want to know about who is the top 10 taxpayers in the county. That was something that was very hard for us to generate as far as reports. So the ease of getting information to key decision makers and the members of the public is much easier on their newer system. It operates faster, so we can do more transactions. At the beginning of the year, when your mortgage companies send us your escrow from what they collected for your taxes, that was a very arduous and time-consuming, labor-consuming practice. This automates that practice. So there's a lot of functionality that makes things smoother and better, but it's also the acknowledgement that our older system could no longer be supported.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. And then finally, with my critical needs request. As with anything, inflation has hit the country hard, from rising food costs, transportation costs, fuel costs, decisions by the current administration that has rendered transportation and fuel costs higher. It has exacerbated costs in many other areas, and government is not an exception. So we mail a lot of information out to our citizens with respect to tax notices, and it's a core requirement in law for us to do that. So we've had a number of postage increases this past year. We've already had 2 increases. There's another one proposed for the first of the year, and I'm hearing there's also another one not far down the pike. So our request is the acknowledgement of those increased costs to get important notifications to our property owners. So with that, I am requesting $37,000 for increased postage so that we can continue to collect and distribute the funds that are necessary. We collect over $715 million, a couple zeros there, $715 million in property taxes for the county and other entities that include 17 school districts and 330 other taxing districts. So with that, I'm concluded. Have any questions?
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. First of all, just want to thank you and the Treasurer's Office for all the great work that you do. When you think about 330 taxing districts, and I never hear about any controversy, it means you're getting the job done, and that is not a trivial task. So I just want to thank you and the team for everything that you're doing, and certainly understand, postal increases and so forth. I do have one question, though. On 330 taxing districts, are there any taxing districts that you don't do the tax collection for, or is that basically like everybody?
It's mandated in state statute for me to do that, yes.
Okay, so everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I've always been wondering if it was really, truly comprehensive on every public agency that collects tax, or if there were a few that maybe were excused from you doing that task, and there were a few out there. It's kind of interesting because I actually got a question from somebody just this week. If we're doing tax collection on behalf of other public agencies like school districts in the city and what have you, are we getting reimbursed by them?
We do. There is a percentage, a treasurer fee that we do collect, and that goes into the general fund for operations. So it's a percentage based on the entity. So it's typically 1% to 2% depending on the geopolitical district.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I will again reiterate my least favorite federal government agency is the Postal Service, but one thing that you didn't include here that you do is you sit on our retirement board.
Yes.
By statute. And I just appreciate you keeping an eye on our employees' money and on those investments and making sure that the retirement board is operating successfully, transparently, and staying out of trouble.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your kind words on our team. They've worked very hard. They are carrying on 2 duties. They were doing the normal functions under the VAC system while parallelly developing and testing our new CollectWare system. So they did that, and thank you for the remark about the retirement board. And I also said on the healthcare board here for the county, and I appreciate what Nikki Simmons and the leadership here does in giving benefits to our employees. Always been very creative about how we can do a little more for our employees each and every year in that arena of our benefits. And then also thank you for your consideration on anything you can do for our employees with increases to offset the increased inflation costs that we're seeing at this time. So I thank you. All right.
Looks like no additional questions.
All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.